Welcome back to Crafting Made Simple. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and sign up for our newsletter for even more craft ideas and tips. Today, we're getting cozy with some snowman crafts that are not only fun to make, but also have some serious potential as bestsellers. Especially during those chilly holiday months, we're diving into a blog post from Paperflow Designs that's packed with inspiring ideas. And you can find a link to the full supply list for all these crafts in our show notes or over on paperflowdesigns.com.
What's great about this blog post is that it really taps into a few things. The love for handmade items during the holidays, that irresistible charm of snowmen, and of course, the potential to turn your crafty hobby into a little side hustle.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The blog post highlights 8 different snowman crafts. We've got painted tube snowman candles, the classic stacked foam ball snowman, a pine cone and scallop snowman that really caught my eye, a rustic wall-hanging snowman, adorable wood slice snowman ornaments, colorful crochet snowman, a modern-looking yarn-wrap snowman, and finally some super easy sock snowmen.
Right off the bat, you can see the variety, both in terms of the complexity of the crafts and the materials used. Some, like the sock snowmen, are perfect for even the littlest crafters, while others, like the yarn-wrapped one, might require a bit more finesse.
I'm already thinking about all the different yarns I could use for that one. But before I get ahead of myself, why don't we break these crafts down one by one? Let's start with those painted tube snowman candles. I'm always a fan of upcycling, and using cardboard tubes is such a clever way to give them a new life.
It's a fantastic way to be both creative and eco-conscious. What's interesting here is that by using something as simple as a cardboard tube, you're creating a base for a candle that has a certain rustic charm. It's not your perfectly smooth store-bought candle holder, and that's part of its appeal.
It's that handmade touch that people are drawn to, especially during the holidays. Speaking of classic appeal, we have to talk about the stacked foam ball snowman. It's a staple for a reason, right?
Absolutely. It's instantly recognizable, incredibly versatile,
Yeah.
and surprisingly easy to assemble. The blog post suggests using a wooden base, which I think adds a touch of sophistication and makes it perfect for display.
I love that idea. And you can get really creative with the embellishments.
Right.
A ribbon scarf, a mini top hat, maybe even some sparkly faux snow. It's all about bringing your own personality to the design. Plus, from a selling standpoint, the stacked foam ball snowman is a crowd pleaser, easy to make in bulk, and very cost-effective.
Right. It ticks a lot of boxes for both the maker and the buyer. Now, this next one, the pine cone and scallop snowman, is what I'd call a statement piece. It's unexpected, it uses natural elements, and it has that rustic, almost woodland-inspired aesthetic that's become so popular.
I was completely drawn to it, too. Using scallop paper or even shells for the body is such a creative touch. It adds texture, dimension, and makes each snowman truly unique.
Yeah.
I could see this one being a real conversation starter at a craft fair.
It definitely stands out. And because it uses readily available materials like pine cones and shells, it's a great example of how you can elevate a simple craft with a little ingenuity. The blog post even mentions using different yarn colors for the scarf to tie it into your holiday decor, which is a smart way to customize it further.
That's a great tip. And speaking of customization, let's move on to the rustic wall-hanging snowman. This one really plays with texture and dimension, using a wooden plank as the backdrop for a layered snowman design. It's like bringing a little piece of the outdoors inside.
What I find fascinating about this craft is how it incorporates elements of farmhouse style, which, as we know, is a huge trend right now. The use of plaid ribbon for the scarf, the rustic wooden plank, even the addition of faux snowflakes and greenery, it all adds to that cozy, welcoming vibe.
And it's a piece that can easily transition from holiday decor to year-round decoration, which is a big plus. Now, for those who love miniature crafts and decking out their Christmas trees, the wood-sized snowman ornaments are simply adorable.
They're the perfect size for ornaments and have a natural charm. You can really see the beauty of the wood grain shining through even with the paint. And with a little foam ball for the head and a mini knit hat, they become these tiny, festive characters.
Plus, imagine the possibilities for personalization. You could add initials, use different colored hats, or even paint little scenes on the wood slices. They would make lovely, heartfelt gifts.
I completely agree. They're small, but pack a lot of personality. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the colorful crochet snowmen. These are perfect for those who love working with yarn and adding a pop of color to their holiday decor.
I can already picture a whole bunch of these little guys nestled in a basket or hanging from the tree. And because they're crocheted, they have that extra cozy and cuddly feel.
Exactly. And the beauty of crochet is that you can customize the colors and patterns to your heart's content. The blog post shows some bright and cheerful examples, but you could easily create a more muted palette or even incorporate metallic yarn for a touch of sparkle.
And I imagine these would be a big hit at craft fairs. especially for those who appreciate handmade items with a bit of a vintage or whimsical feel.
You're right, they have that handcrafted charm that's hard to resist. Now let's talk about a technique that's both trendy and a bit more challenging. The yarn-wrapped snowman.
This one really caught my eye. It's so modern and elegant, and I love the texture that the yarn creates. But I'm also wondering, how exactly do you achieve those perfectly round yarn balls?
It's actually simpler than it looks, but it does require some patience. You wrap yarn that's been soaked in a glue and water mixture around balloons, let them dry completely, then pop the balloons to reveal the solid yarn sphere.
That's fascinating. So it's the glue that hardens and gives the yarn its shape. I never would have guessed.
It's a clever technique, and you can use it to create all sorts of shapes, not just spheres. Imagine yarn-wrapped ornaments or even letters for a personalized touch.
The possibilities are endless. And I bet you could experiment with different types of yarn to create different textures and effects. A chunky yarn would give you a more rustic look, while a thinner, silkier yarn would create something more delicate and refined.
You're exactly right. And the blog post suggests adding twig arms for a touch of whimsy, which I think is a brilliant way to bring in that natural element and make it even more unique.
I love that detail. And finally, we come to the sock snowman. These are just too cute, and I bet they're a huge hit with kids.
Absolutely. They're so simple to make with just a few basic household items. White socks, small plastic bottles, ping pong balls, and some fabric scraps for scarves. It's a perfect craft for a snowy day with the family.
And just think of all the silly faces and personalities you could create. You could use buttons for eyes, draw on mouths with markers, or even add little hats and mittens.
And because they're so easy to personalize, they make fantastic gifts for friends and family. Plus, it's a great way to use up those single socks that are always lurking in the back of your drawer.
It's a win-win. Now, before we move on, I just want to remind everyone that you can find a link to the full supply list for all these crafts in our show notes, or over on paperflowdesigns.com. And don't forget to sign up for our Crafting Made Simple newsletter to stay up to date on all the latest craft ideas and tips. We'll be back after a short break to dive deeper into a few of our favorites and discuss how you can make these snowmen truly your own.
Welcome back to Crafting Made Simple. We've explored 8 fantastic snowman crafts, and now I'm curious, what are some that stood out to you?
So many great options, but I have to say that pine cone and scallop snowman is still swirling around in my mind. There's something so charming and unique about it. It's like a little piece of nature you bring into your home.
I agree, it's definitely eye-catching.
Yeah.
And it taps into that trend of bringing the outdoors in, using natural elements in a way that feels both rustic and modern. We see this a lot in home decor these days with things like wood accents, botanical prints, and even houseplants becoming increasingly popular.
It's that connection to nature that people are craving, I think. And the pinecone snowman captures that perfectly. Plus, I love that it's relatively easy to make even for beginners, so you don't need any special skills or tools, just a bit of creativity and a love for nature.
Exactly, and the fact that you can customize it with different colors of yarn, different types of shells, even add little touches like berries or dried flowers makes it even more appealing. It's a craft that really allows for personal expression.
Speaking of personal expression, the yarn-wrapped snowman is another one that sparked my imagination. It's so different from the traditional snowman with its clean lines and modern aesthetic. I can see this one fitting into a variety of decor styles, from minimalist to bohemian.
It's incredibly versatile, isn't it? And I think what makes it so intriguing is the texture. The yarn creates this almost fuzzy, tactile surface that you just want to reach out and touch. It's a great example of how you can elevate a simple shape like a sphere with an interesting material.
You know, I'm picturing a grouping of these yarn-wrapped snowmen in different sizes, maybe clustered together on a mantle or even used as a centerpiece on a dining table. It would be such a unique and elegant statement.
And imagine playing around with different types of yarn. A chunky wool would give you a cozy, rustic feel, while a shimmering metallic yarn would add a touch of glamour. You could even combine different yarns within a single sphere to create patterns and textures.
I'm getting so many ideas. It's amazing how a simple technique like yarn wrapping can open up so many creative possibilities. But let's get practical for a moment. If someone was thinking about selling these snowman crafts, what advice would you give them?
Presentation is key. Whether you're selling online or at a craft fair, you want to create a display that's visually appealing and tells a story. Think about the overall aesthetic you're going for and choose props and backdrops that complement your crafts.
So for the pinecone snowman, you might use a rustic wooden crate filled with faux snow and evergreen branches to create a winter woodland scene.
Exactly. And for the yarn-wrapped snowmen, you could display them on a sleek modern shelf with some fairy lights to highlight their delicate texture. The key is to create a cohesive look that draws people in and makes them want to take a closer look.
And when it comes to pricing, I imagine it's important to factor in not just the cost of materials, but also the time and skill involved in creating each piece.
Absolutely. You want to make sure you're valuing your time and talent. It can be helpful to research what similar items are selling for in your area to get a sense of the market. And don't be afraid to adjust your prices as you gain experience and confidence.
That's great advice. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about those beginner-friendly crafts.
Mm.
The sock snowman are a clear winner in that category, wouldn't you say?
They're incredibly accessible even for young children, and they're a great way to introduce basic crafting concepts like gluing, stuffing, and embellishing. Plus, you can use materials you likely already have at home, making it a very budget-friendly option.
I love that they're so adaptable too. You can make them small and dainty or big and cuddly, and the possibilities for personalization are endless.
Speaking of beginner-friendly, the painted tube snowman candles are another great option. They involve simple techniques like painting and gluing, and you can get really creative with the designs.
I'm picturing a whole set of these candles, each one decorated with a different winter scene or festive pattern. They would make such charming gifts or additions to any holiday decor.
And they're a great way to practice basic painting techniques. You could use stencils, sponges, even your fingers to create different textures and effects. It's all about experimentation and having fun.
And for those who might be intimidated by working with hot glue, you could even use craft glue or double-sided tape to secure the scarves and other details.
You're absolutely right. There are always ways to adapt a craft to your comfort level and skill set. And remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process.
I think sometimes we get so caught up in the end result that we forget to savor the journey. Crafting should be a relaxing and enjoyable experience. It's about tapping into your creativity, expressing yourself, and creating something beautiful with your own two hands.
I couldn't agree more. It's about the process of making the joy of creating and the satisfaction of bringing your own unique vision to life.
So we've talked about some crafts that are perfect for beginners,
Yeah.
but what about those who are looking for something a little more challenging? The yarn wrap snowman certainly comes to mind, but are there any others on this list that you think would push a crafter's skills a bit further?
Well, the colorful crochet snowmen certainly require some crochet knowledge. But even if you're a beginner crochet, there are plenty of resources available online and in libraries to help you learn the basics. And once you've mastered a few simple stitches, you can create these adorable little snowmen with ease.
I think the key is to not be afraid to try new things and to embrace the learning process. Crafting is all about expanding your skills and trying new techniques. You never know what you might discover along the way.
And sometimes those happy accidents lead to the most beautiful and unexpected creations. So don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them. It's all part of the creative journey.
Now, before we wrap up this exploration of snowman crafts, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the idea of turning your crafting hobby into a small business. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about taking that leap?
That's a great question. First and foremost, I would say do your research. Understand your target market, analyze your costs, and develop a solid business plan.
It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of starting a business, but it's crucial to approach it strategically and make sure you have a solid foundation.
Exactly. You also need to be passionate about what you're creating. Your enthusiasm will shine through in your work and will be contagious to your customers.
And don't be afraid to start small. You don't need to have a huge inventory or a fancy website right out of the gate. Start with a few key pieces. Test the waters at local craft fairs or online marketplaces, and gradually grow your business as you gain experience and confidence.
And most importantly, believe in yourself and your ability to create something special.
That's such an important message. It's easy to get discouraged, especially when you're first starting out. But remember that every successful crafter started somewhere, and they all face challenges along the way. The key is to persevere, stay true to your vision, and never stop learning and growing.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a perfect note to transition into our final segment.
We've talked about making these snowman crafts our own.
Yeah.
But what unique twist could you put on one of these snowman crafts to make it truly your own or extra special for a gift recipient? Think outside the box. Maybe it's incorporating a specific hobby or interest, using unexpected materials, or adding a personalized message. Let those creative snowflakes fall where they may.
What's so exciting about these snowman crafts is that they truly are blank canvases for your creativity. For example, imagine a rustic wall-hanging snowman customized with family photos instead of faux snowflakes. Or how about a yarn-wrapped snowman adorned with beads and charms that represent a loved one's favorite things?
Those are fantastic ideas. You could even create a themed set of painted tube snowman candles, each one representing a different holiday movie or song. Or how about a sock snowman family, each member sporting a personalized hat and scarf?
I love it. You could even take it a step further and create a whole sock snowman village, complete with tiny houses and a miniature skating rink made from a piece of cardboard covered in aluminum foil.
Now you're really speaking my language. I can already envision the endless possibilities.
And that's what we hope you take away from this episode. Don't be afraid to experiment, think outside the box, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to wrap things up, we've explored a delightful array of snowman crafts, from the classic to the quirky, proving that there's a snowman out there for every taste and skill level. Remember, folks, crafting is all about expressing yourself, having fun, and spreading a little holiday cheer. So grab those craft supplies, let your imagination run wild, and create some snowman magic of your own.
And don't forget to check out paperflooddesigns.com for the full list of supplies and step-by-step instructions for all 8 snowman crafts. You can find the link in our show notes.
And before you go, be sure to sign up for our Crafting Made Simple newsletter for even more crafty inspiration delivered straight to your inbox. That's all for this episode of Crafting Made Simple. Happy crafting, everyone.